Okay, good morning, good afternoon, and welcome, everyone. My name is Andrés Fontao, and I am the CEO of Summit. And I will be your host for today's installment of Conexión Fintech. For those unfamiliar with our platform, Summit is dedicated to transforming finance by building a better world. And we achieve this by bringing together the most influential leaders and voices in the fintech ecosystem to discuss the future of finance. Today, we're going to be talking about a monumental shift in digital commerce. There's a revolution that's not just changing how we shop, but who is doing the shopping. The title of today's episode says it all: the Agentic Commerce Revolution. How to capture the $5 trillion opportunity in Latin America. Many say that we're moving away from a traditional human-centered, human-mediated e-commerce to a kind of commerce that's driven, from a type of commerce that's driven by clicks and by search to an AI native ecosystem. It's what we call agentic commerce. Imagine a world where AI agents act autonomously on behalf of consumers. These AI agents can anticipate needs that customers may have, the products that they're searching for. They can negotiate terms, and they can even transact and make purchases on their behalf. And it's not science fiction. This is happening today around the globe. And projections are showing that this market could reach between 3 and 5 trillion US dollars globally by 2030. We believe that for Latin America, this presents a massive opportunity and a critical imperative. Our focus today will be precisely on that, on the infrastructure, the standards, the strategic decisions that need to be made to ensure that Latin America as a whole and as a region can really capitalize on this transformation. Specifically, we're going to be talking about how we can understand, how we can build the secure lanes that are needed for machines to transact autonomously on behalf of consumers. To guide us through this important, critical conversation, we've assembled really three exceptional leaders in this space who are helping to define standards globally. Our moderator today is Guida Sousa, Senior Vice President of Digital Payments for Latin America and the Caribbean at Mastercard. Guida will be joined by two renowned experts in their field: Randall Davies, the head of business at Skyfire, and Wang, the head of product management for payment at Microsoft AI. And so during the next 30 minutes, Guida, Randall, and they're going to be exploring three critical areas. First of all, the shift from clicks to code. Secondly, how we can build trust and infrastructure to enable agentic commerce. And thirdly, most importantly for the region, the scaling imperative in Latin America. They're going to be addressing unique challenges that the region has: low digital payment penetration, for example, or the need to adapt agent ethics to cultural norms across Latin America. We will wrap up the session with 10 minutes of audience Q&A. And so I would just like to remind our audience that they can use the Q&A function at the bottom of their screens to submit any questions they have throughout the session. I'll be back with you at that point to moderate the questions to our esteemed panelists. With that, I'd like to pass the mic and give the floor to Guida and our esteemed panelists. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon for probably for some of you. It's a pleasure to be here moderating the panel with Ao and Randall. And thank you for the invitation. So Hal, let's start with you. Let's start with a level setting question. I believe, we talk about agentic commerce and Andres explained a little bit what it is, but the reality is that agentic commerce can happen in many different ways, can have different intermediaries, right? Different entities involved. And so can you describe a little bit the three different agentic models, agent to site, agent to agent, intermediary agent to site, and also which one does Microsoft, believe may have the most immediate potential to scale in Latin America?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you. Thank you for having me here. So excited to join this panel and share my knowledge, my experience with the greater audience here. So going back to the question, right now, pretty much there are three different models about agentic commerce. The first one is so-called agent to site. Yeah. The second one is the intermediate agent to site. The difference between these two is the first one is a traditional browser model. Think about a bot surfing your website and click through like the human being is doing and complete the transaction on behalf of the user. That's the first model. The second model is intermediate agent to site, which involve a trusted middleman, a trusted platform. For example, Microsoft Copilot, which is a trusted branding with a big complete backup and got trust from the customer. The last one is the pure agent to agent model. That's in the future. It's like you have your personal AI assistant agent talk to another merchant agent, call it a branding agent or brand agent. They negotiate, curing the inventory, facilitate the transaction with structured data. So that's the three different models. Then from Microsoft perspective, we believe at this moment, the second model, the intermediate agent to site model, could be the potential, intermediate potential to scale in Latin America. The reason is there are two very important things we need to think about how to scale these models. The first one is trust. The second is infrastructure. So in the region of Latin America, digital fraud is one of the major concerns. So from both consumer and the merchant perspective, consumer won't be able to just give the credit card to any agent to do the pure agent to agent transaction or agent to AI agent to serving the merchant side. So it's a little bit scary for both merchant and customer. So that is why we need to have this intermediate trusted platform like Microsoft Copilot to become the facilitator to help make the transaction really happen between the customer and the merchant. So that's my answer to your question.
Very good, very good. I'm not surprised on part of your answer, but since you're talking about Copilot, I know Microsoft has developed Microsoft Brand Agents as well as Copilot Checkout. How do you envision the role of these solutions in enabling agentic commerce, particularly, and on my side, in partnership with Mastercard Agent Pay? And I know we are in very early days, let's be honest. But are there lessons learned that you could already, share with the audience to inform us on, what strategies maybe you should be thinking for Latin America?
Yeah. So thank you for bringing up these two products that Microsoft launched a month ago. So Brand Agent and Copilot Checkout. So think about Brand Agent is AI agent that built on the merchant side. So it's a merchant side tools help the merchant to speak in merchant voice, help the merchant to answer the question from the customer to give the best inventory based on the question from the customer. So that's the brand agent. Copilot checkout is built within Copilot as a platform. So help the customer querying and actually check out within Copilot without redirect to a third-party merchant website. So that's the two products we announced a month ago. Now, the partnership between Mastercard Agent Pay is critical because going back to the trust question, right? We, as a Microsoft, we can help the user to discover, to understand the intent, to find the best merchant product. However, in order to facilitate the transaction, we need Mastercard as the leader of the payment industry to help to settle the transaction, complete the merchant, actually make the transaction happen. So that's why the partnership between Microsoft and Mastercard is so important. And the lesson we have learned so far for Latin America market is friction is the enemy of adoption. So that's why AI is helping to reduce the friction, to help to improve the conversion rate. However, the trust is still the gatekeeper. So we need to have the secure and the best infrastructure for the payment to actually help the user to connect with the merchant to make the transaction happen. So that's my answer to your question.
Thank you, Hao. You talked a lot about trust, so that's going to be my segue to Randall. But let me also take the opportunity because we talk about the Agent Pay without actually introducing it to the audience, and I'm not going to get long, I promise. But it's basically a solution that ensures that the payment that goes through agents is actually very secure and very transparent for the different players, for the issuers, for the merchants, but also that is tokenized, authenticated, all of that. I'm not going to go into details, but just to give a hint for those that are not aware of. So in the segue of trust, Randall, Skyfire is a strong focus around solving for know your agent, right? Which is a new term in the industry. Can we expand a little bit on the parallels and on the difference of know your agent and, KYC, know your customer, or KYM, know your merchant? Because naturally, there's a little bit of a difference, right? Due to the challenges posed by these agents. And also, how are you, Skyfire, positioned to address those challenges?
For sure. And first, let me thank Andres Infinite Summit, as well as Guida and Mastercard for having Skyfire and myself on the cast today. Really appreciate it. It's exciting to work with both of you. So yeah, with respect to traditional, KYC, KYM, right, that exists really to answer three questions about a human or a business. Who is transacting? Who do they represent? Are they authorized and accountable, typically? But autonomous AI agents introduce kind of the same trust problem, but a different actor. So it's a non-human, obviously. It's software-based. And importantly, it operates continuously. And it may even have more than one user over time for the same agent. So with agents, institutions really have to look out for, they need answers to things like what platform created this agent? What is its reputation? What's the platform's reputation? Which human or business does the agent represent at this time? Especially what permissions or scope, spending authority does the agent have? And very importantly, can its behavior be audited and revoked if it needs to be? So Skyfire's Know Your Agent protocol really is like an evolution of KYC, KYM for an agentic world. So instead of verifying a person or a business once, KYA really focuses on verifying the agent platform, which we do a KYB on when they onboard, the specific agent, and we gather key information about them, the consumer or the business principle that it represents, and definitely what it's permission to do. And it's designed to continuously update itself in runtime. So that enables us to do really real-time revocation, especially before any payment is made. So we're excited that we see Skyfire's strength in identity and that the fact that identity and payments are bound together. So kind of economically enforcing trust in this kind of new world of KYA.
Fascinating, Randall. So I think what you're saying, and I would like you to expand a little bit more on this, is actually, know your agent, pay your solution. Skyfire solution would help address institutional trust issues, I guess. Hopefully, that's what we all hope, and therefore help scaling this, programmable, verified, autonomous, commerce and payments that we are expecting to see scaling in Latin America. Is this fair to say?
Yeah, very fair. I mean, that's why these are very interesting challenges, right, to this market in particular. So I think we believe when there are institutional trust gaps, right, people want alternative trust mechanisms. And so KYA tries to help this problem by changing how trust is established. First and foremost, it's transparent and verified. So KY is an open protocol where agents are onboarded to Skyfire, and verification is done with technology and with technology partners, kind of throughout the value chain from agent to merchant. We do collaborate with bank customers in some use cases, and it's very powerful when we can access that information as well. The information that we collect on agents is tokenized and presented to web security and merchant systems to really do their own verification of that agent. So they're in control, right? In fact, Skyfire's tokens today are trusted by most of the leading web security, fraud, and account security players. So that's kind of a statement around the acceptance and importance of it. Second, rather than institutions enforcing agent rules, it's actually the users or the business that set their own programmable spending controls around whatever payment or whatever access mode it's in. So the RKYA tokens are scoped for specific use cases, amount, just down to specific products, down to specific merchants, and even down to specific timeframes that they're valid. And then last, KY Pay is always cryptographically verified and auditable, which many of our customers are excited about the opportunity for that to reduce chargebacks. So while I think digital payments have fragmented acceptance in LATAM, I think we believe that agent and merchant friendly protocols like KYA, and we're not the only one, will really help adoption, and especially given the high mobile wallet penetration and the fact that at least our protocol works across cards and wallets and bank payments and even stable coins.
That is super cool and complex, it seems. So I'm imagining very interesting conversations from you or your team, Randall, with potential future business partners and even larger institutions. Now, you touch on an important point. You said KYA is an open protocol. We talked about protocols, and they are like popping up like as mushrooms, I like to say, right? Yep. There is ACP and AP2 and X402 and several others. I'm not going to mention them all. How do you see KYA Pay integrating and complementing these different agentic commerce protocols or even solutions like Mastercard Agent Pay?
Yeah. We probably don't get to slide number 2 before a prospective customer says, now what about all the protocols? And how can you help us figure out the right one for us and the right approach? So we see this as a layered ecosystem, not a winner-take-all market. The alphabet soup that you mentioned is something that everybody's got to get their heads around. We are strong in identity, which creates access, and payments, and the authorization layer is wrapped around that. And so we see ourselves as very compatible with the protocols that are out there and really enabling those that have weaknesses in certain areas of identity or payments or otherwise. For instance, like we have ACP style protocols, right, that define how agents communicate and request actions to one another. We, of course, have Mastercard Agent Pay, which defines how agents transact on card rails. But then KY Pay really defines who the agent is, who it represents, and whether it's allowed to pay, and in some cases provides the payment credentials or rail, depending on the rail that's being used. The benefit of this is that the KY Pay enabled agent can transact, across PIX or SPAY or PSE or even stablecoins, kind of depending on that market. So the way we look at the protocols really is that KYA can either wrap, it can augment, or it can even power some of these frameworks, kind of depending on the strengths and the gaps of each. And with Agent Pay, we're very excited to be a Mastercard partner. We were just allowed into the StarPath program this week. But we work very closely with Mastercard on card transactions, where it's Mastercard that provides the tokenization of the user's card at the time of payment or just before the time of payment, and Skyfire wraps that into our pay token and pairs it up with identity and rules. So it's a very symbiotic relationship that we're super proud of.
Well, congratulations on the start, Pat. That's awesome. I wasn't aware yet. And I think that's your message, and I'm going to continue on protocols, because to your point, like it doesn't get to the second slide until you start talking about protocols with clients. I think it's super important, this concept of, the protocols exist from different entities, and in many cases even for different purposes, right? And therefore it's not necessarily one or the other. It might be several. There might be a wrapper. They complement each other in many ways. So I think that's an important message. Although we also know that standardization makes life easier, right? And eventually, I think we're all thinking: is there going to be not 100 protocols, but a standard that brings it all together, right? So a little bit on that sense, Al, what's your view relative to these different existing protocols, and what are steps being taken to standardize, the protocols, the APIs, etc. What's your view?
Yeah, so everybody know AI, the industry, specifically the agentic commerce, is still at an early stage. There are so many protocols. I bet there are more coming, right? So Microsoft, our position is to be open and to support interoperability. And we don't believe that exclusive is going to help the industry grow. So we definitely will consider from the merchant perspective, what is the cost for merchant to adopt a new technology or protocol, right? Right now, we have been working with industry partners like PayPal, Stripe to help merchant onboard Copilot and connect with our customer directly. We are going to using ACP, which is open sourced, and we will make a contribution to the protocol itself. When new protocol coming out, we will review case by case to see whether or not there's specific merchant or a group of merchants want to adopt it. We will consider if the demand from the merchant is high, we certainly will support. So that's our position. In the end, as the AI industry continue to evolve, we will see consolidate the protocol definitions, and Microsoft will definitely make a contribution to that standardize the protocol when the time is the right time.
When the time comes, yeah, and I agree with you. It's the hype is there for sure, and it's super interesting, agentic. But we all have to recognize at the same time this is at the very beginning. So probably we are still at a time where more protocols help because more ideas come to strengthen what's being built, right? And there will be the time where, okay, I think we've probably learned. I'm not going to say enough because learning is constant, but there's enough learning to be able to to standardize, and standardization in general helps scale. So I hope that time comes,
Yeah.
but I agree with you, we're probably too early to get there. So changing a little bit of gears, we've been talking more about infrastructure and trust. I want to talk as well about, the cultural and ethics aspect of agentic. So how is Microsoft ensuring that, your AI agents' behavior and tactics are adaptable to the different, local cultural norms and trust frameworks? In this case, specifically to Latin America, right? But I believe this is part of the infrastructure of an agent, because this will naturally accelerate adoption, right? As we see an agent kind of behaving more aligned with my norms, with my trust foundations, etc. So how is Microsoft ensuring that this important cultural piece is taken into account?
Yeah. That's a great question, because we all know that commerce is deeply culture, right? So in Latin America, what I know is commerce is more often controversial and relation-based, right? That's why WhatsApp play a really good business in Latin America as well. So, but from Microsoft perspective, we believe responsible AI is not just a slogan; it's actually a product feature. So we put a lot of efforts for try to build, to train and fine tuning the model for different location or different region. For example, we need to understand from the big model perspective, the LLM, the model need to be trained to understand a query, exactly the same query, may mean different things or different culture implication from St. Paul or from Europe. That's something from a scientific perspective. We keep refine tuning our model. However, on the other side, we always believe at this moment we need to build the functionality to support human in the loop. Always give the user the control. When the user feel that they need to take the control from the AI agent, we will give them the control from the discovery phase, from the transaction phase, even post-transaction phase. We believe the AI is to build to serve the human, not the other way around. So at this moment, always give the control to the customer, let them feel comfortable and feel they can trust the tools that, or the AI agent, those companies, Microsoft, are building for them.
I like consumer on the steering wheel, right? Because we hear so many apocalyptic views about AI. I think it's important to try to keep the consumer or the human being at the steering wheel. Hopefully, something we as an industry will be able to foster. Randall, I pass to you. One of the things that Andres mentioned in the beginning is the huge opportunity from a business case standpoint, right? That agentic commerce represents to Latin America. So let's try to touch on that. One, I didn't make you that question. Maybe should have been the first, but how does Skyfire define agentic commerce in this lens, right? And how do the AI agents that are leveraging, KYI, know your KYA, sorry, know your agent identity and payments, how can they create new monetization opportunities, for fintechs, for banks, for merchants, obviously across Latin America, but I think that would be the same across other regions of the world.
Yeah. That is a great comment about that. How mentioned about how important it is that the consumer and the humans stay in control. We definitely believe and hope that the human will realize ultimate convenience and a lot of utility from agents when they don't just recommend, when they can autonomously act and transact and optimize. on behalf of consumers or businesses. That's kind of how we define agentic commerce. And as you said, it's early days, but the components are in place to enable this, and that really like unlocks like seamless and verified agent access to websites and merchants. That's one of the first things that we need to solve and enable. Autonomous purchasing. The better the rules and the better the identity that we wrap around agents enables like 24/7 commerce. So, I mean, any financial institution would see higher transaction volumes because of that. Really interesting one, and it's made possible by some of the innovations in the payment rails and stablecoins and such, as the ability to do pay-per-use business models or micro-payment transaction models that really, I think, will unlock like a much bigger data economy than we're seeing. And then last, like real-time API monetization. So anyone with an API and a product or a service behind it, can make that a storefront, if you will. So excited to talk about the opportunities for fintechs and banks, and a few of them we're working with. So these are kind of real for us. But number one is probably unlocking those API and data as a service businesses for fintech. And we've seen in the news the JP Morgans and the Plaids, and then many other use cases like that for market research agents or fintechs and the like. That's going to be exciting. Second, FIs really taking the reins in terms of building their own shopping experiences for their customers. They know a lot about their customers. They've got customer profiles, purchase history, loyalty points, offers, all of this in their, within their control, and they can use that. In fact, some customers of ours are to blend into AI workflows to return just way better shopping experiences for users. So that's an exciting one, the ability to like buy now, right in your own experience. We see agents as a service. This is another thing we're seeing from some of our service provider partners, like subscriptions for AI agents with embedded financial capabilities, budgeting agents, investment agents, and the like. And then big one for LATAM, like there's a big role to be played, right, with facilitating agent-to-agent payments across countries. We know how difficult it is given the present infrastructure and situation, but like that could be a big role for agents. And then last, like we're seeing a lot of enterprises building first-party agents, which help customers see the right offer at the right price at the right time, and that cuts across everything from e-com, to FI. So lots of exciting. That was kind of a long list, but lots of exciting things I think will be unlocked.
That was a long list, which I think is a great, hint for the audience, and we know it's just in the beginning, right? In 6 months' time, probably your list is going to double, and in 1 year time, your list is going to triple. And I think that's what's so exciting about AI and agentic commerce is it's huge potential. So you've talked about the opportunities, but now my question, Randall, goes on kind of the other way. So what are the main challenges to scale agentic commerce in Latin America? And I think you've addressed already how Skyfire infrastructure can help on that. I mean, but feel free to add anything if you haven't touched yet.
Sure. One piece of good news is, and we're seeing our customers do this, like we believe that 2026, there will be a lot of agentic activity using existing web UI and checkout mechanisms. Like the agents are good enough now to navigate that. So we don't have to go to machine APIs and MCPs in order to realize some of the benefits of agents. And that's not LATAM specific, but something I think that's exciting for all of us. But really to scale, right, the web really needs machine-friendly infrastructure in APIs and MCPs, and especially in the data itself that merchants and FIs and banks will need to make sure it becomes a reality. And then in LATAM, right, the fragmented payment rails, I think especially cross-border, and I believe there are about 20 plus different regulatory regimes. That's going to be something that needs navigating. But again, agents are also very, very good at dealing with complicated workflows. So I think there's a promise. And then the legacy banking, like data and systems that aren't API friendly or real-time capable, will be a hindrance. And then the last is like that cultural trust gap that Hal mentioned around commerce, just skepticism about autonomous AI making financial decisions for me that we try to tackle with some of those human controls. But LATAM, right, has real-time payment rails and wallets, like high mobile penetration and a pretty young, savvy population that's very open to new banking models and automation. So, and a huge, we think, SMB and cross-border use case opportunity. So like at the end of the day, we're just trying to help Skyfire is by taking the complexity away from FIs with like open standardized protocols, one agent identity layer that cuts across countries and markets, the fact that multiple payment rails sit under one policy engine, so that kind of covers a lot of different ways to pay. And then last, trying to make it very easy to onboard for merchants or banks or FIs. So I think, with this, and especially Mastercard and maybe even Copilot, we hope to help LATAM leapfrog once again, as they have in the past, like directly into safe and especially programmable and agent-driven commerce.
Randall, very quickly, because you mentioned MCP, but some of our audience may not be aware of what that is. If you want to explain it in, shortly.
I'll try, yeah. So yeah, real shortly, MCP is a standard built by Anthropic that allows agents and automations, effectively web automations, to interface easily with APIs. And Hal can probably jump in and add to that too. But that's one standard. There are others, but it's one that picked up a lot of steam last year, and it's promising in terms of letting machines talk directly to machines very efficiently.
Yeah, Randall captured it very well.
Very good, thank you. Our last question goes for you. How it's a bit of a more futuristic question. Randall, you feel free to add, once our answers. How does Microsoft see Agentic Commerce evolving over the next 3 to 5 years? Will AI agents, complement traditional finance and retail services? Will they completely redefine? What's your view?
It's my personal view. There's no official Microsoft view on this. So I think Agentic Commerce will redefine the discovery phase of commerce, but on the fulfillment, the settlement is a complement what is existing. So the reason I'm saying redefine the discovery phase is with a AI agent, the experience or the way customer find a ideal product is no longer search driven or search based. You don't need to type in or write down something like buy a bottle of milk. Instead, you tell your AI agent, I want 2 bottles of milk in my refrigerator every day. So the AI will automatically track the stock and place an order on behalf of you. More important, the AI may find a coupon on behalf of you if someday the milk is on sale, right? That's the discovery phase will change. However, the settlement, the backend, the financial rules, bank, credit card, settlement, all those will still be there. Instead, it becomes faster and more convenient to the user. Think about in the future, you will, as a customer, you will have multiple agents. One help you do the shopping, the other one do travel. Some agent can help you do restaurant reservation, right? All those agents need KYA, need some wallet, quote-unquote wallet. When the customer authorize the agent to make a purchase, to place a transaction, the financial rule is still there. So the agentic commerce will give more requirement or more features on the top of this financial backend. That is my view of what is going to be in the next 3 or 5 years.
Randall, anything to add? Or you have a completely different view? It's also
no, he captured it well. Nothing more to say.
Very good. I will love the time where I have different agents working for me on different things. Definitely. Andres, back to you.
Yes, thank you, Guida. Thank you, Hal and Randall. We do have some questions from our audience, so I'm going to jump right in. One question I believe is coming from Mexico. In addition to congratulating each and every one of you for this transition in the agentic era, Victor is asking, for non-bank financial institutions like Mexican SOFOMs, we face a challenge balancing the agility of AI agents with the strict regulatory requirements from 2025 and 2026. So he's asking, are there specific case studies where non-bank financial institutions have used Copilot and Mastercard's agent suite to automate compliance or credit scoring while maintaining the human-in-the-loop oversight required by the LATAM law? And how do we move from legacy operation to an AI native operation?
I can start because I saw Mastercard Agent Suite, and then there was also a question about Copilot, so I'll let Tao. It's a loaded question for a start. Regulatory changes in Mexico in 25, 26 are, I think they're still quite new, and we're all figuring out some of them, what exactly that's going to mean, to be honest. But going very direct to, are there case studies already on these very particular, non-financial institutions context on Mastercard Agent Suite? As far as I'm aware, we don't have yet, and I say as far as I'm aware because it stays with the services team on Mastercard. I don't think we have yet that specific case study. What we do typically on the Agent Suite, part of it is actually, going together with a client, do workshops, understand their difficulties, their problems, their opportunities, and try to work on a strategy and what would be the steps to address a specific, again, either challenge or opportunity. So it's more of a bespoke, if you want, way of solutioning together. I think that's what I would say. Now, just very quickly, and less about Mastercard, but I'm pretty sure this automation of compliance and credit scoring, it is something that agents are going to be working on. Now, someone needs to see the opportunity and start building those specific agents, right? Because those are probably very specific agents, like I was saying. It's probably not going to be Copilot, correct me if I'm wrong, but it might be a specific agent that is focused on this, just like there's going to be a travel agent or a shopping agent. So that would be a little bit my take, but happy to connect you to our Mastercard Agent Suite team.
Is there anything on the non-banking financial institution front that you can share?
So I'm not familiar with this regulatory requirements. As Guida just mentioned, Copilot is more like customer facing. This is a particular agent for this specific knowledge domain. That's not something my team or myself are working on.
Right. Okay. I'm going to jump into the next question. What do acquiring participants and aggregators need to do to start developing these functionalities? I understand that we need to change the current mechanics of how we handle card not present transactions, but to get started, what do we need to adapt first, the issuer or the acquirer, in order to receive the agents?
I'll take this one. Both, but I would say in Latin America specifically, most issuers are already ready, and I'm not going to say fully ready, right? Because there's different levels of readiness. One is enable. One is I can use my card to buy on agents. The other one is the issuer already optimizing to get all the information they can receive to do the authorization with the maximum, knowledge, etc. So there's different ways. There's enablement and there's optimization. Okay, I would say that in Latin America, the vast majority of the issuers are ready. At least Mastercard issuers are ready to execute Mastercard, agent pay transactions. Actually, we did a transaction with a Brazilian issuer 2 days ago, just to test it with an agent in the US, just to make sure everything was working well. On the acquiring side, though, and maybe let me give a step back, and I'm going to try to be succinct. There's three things that we see as pillars for Mastercard Agent Pay and for agentic transactions. One is tokenization. All transactions must be tokenized since it brings a lot of security and reduction in fraud. The second is authentication, and we're really pushing for biometric authentication passkeys. Those are the two, most relevant ones from from an acquiring standpoint. And so, because the third is about registering the agent, which is with the agent and not so much with the acquirer. And so, on token penetration, on the acquiring standpoint, there's still a lot of work to do, namely in Mexico, actually. And so this is something that acquirers should be working because the issuers are ready. Like almost 100% of issuers are ready for tokenization in Latin America. So it's more on the acceptance and acquiring side of the gap. And then on passkeys is something relatively new. We brought it in late 2024 to the market. Is growing well in Brazil mostly, but the other markets need to catch up. So I would say bringing passkey authentication and most importantly, ensure you are supporting, acquirers are supporting tokenized transactions is the key for enablement of agentic.
Okay. Thank you, Guida. And so we're running out of time. I do want to jump to one more question, which, I think, it wouldn't be a true session on AI, right, if we didn't touch the impact on the workforce, right? And so we have somebody from a business school who helps support placing their MBA graduates, right? And she's asking, how will all this affect hiring and job prospects for Latin America? So not something very specific to agentic commerce, but yes, to the impact of the AI technology. And so I think it'd be interesting to your opinions on this.
Let me do something very quick because I see Clarissa works for INSEAD. I'm an INSEAD graduate, so congratulations for choosing the best school. I'm going to start there. Honestly, I think Al and Randall are even deeper on the AI industry, so I'm going to for sure let them talk. I think there's only opportunities coming, honestly. Are there jobs that are eventually going to be replaced? Yes, there are, that there have been in the past, right, with industrialization and with internet and other things. Are there more opportunities probably than job closures? I believe so. I think so. We're talking about all these agents that need to be specific for certain things. Someone needs to build them, right? Someone needs to create the trust. Someone needs to. So I believe there's more opportunities than not.
Randall?
Yeah, I mean, we see some short-term pain. It's highlighted in the media and layoff and so forth. Like you can't deny that. But I think the much bigger picture and where you see a lot more evidence too is the long-term impact, just like plenty of technology movements that have happened before us. I mean, we've been automating the business world and our personal world for decades, right? Software automated. I think this is just another wave of that. And like Guida said, and I'm interested to hear what Hao says too, it will generate more work. It'll give people greater productivity. And I think all in all, we don't know yet, and that's the hardest part. But everything we see suggests that humans are going to be in the driver's seat for quite a while. And this will be another automation tool that just allows everybody to do more and to do things, more efficiently and productively, and get rid of the stuff you don't want to do, probably first and foremost.
Great, thank you. Hao, is there anything you want to add before we close out the session?
I agree with Guida and Randall. We see some position got eliminated in the recent news, but there's more opportunity coming. But no one knows for sure. However, we are pretty sure that overall the efficiency is getting improved, and there's new area and new opportunity coming. That's quite optimistic view to the future.
Thank you. Well, we have many more questions lined up, but we have run out of time, unfortunately. We've reached the end of what, to me, and I hope to all our audience, has been a truly insightful session on the agentic commerce revolution. I think for me and for Fino Summit, if there's one takeaway that I will leave today's session with, it's the shift in digital commerce is not a distant prediction. It's the present, right? And there's a series of factors, right, that must, I think anyone that's part of this ecosystem needs to be thinking about yesterday and today, right? But not wait until tomorrow. And it has to do with thinking about new economic and business models. It has to do with establishing trust frameworks, right? Which are critical, as we've heard from our speakers. And existing platforms must be adapted and must become agent ready today and not wait for tomorrow. Guida, Randall, How, thank you so much for your expertise and for sharing your vision, your experience, and your passion. The future is bright for agentic commerce in Latin America, and I do hope that all three of you can be part as we move into this new era. Thank you for joining us, and thank you to our audience for joining us as well.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Andrés and Fino Summit.
And thanks, everyone.
Pleasure.
Thank you.